Yeah, no, I'm certain you've been invited.
I am going to, I'm flying down. The X-Jet is picking up me and my mom and dad 3 miles up the road from my house at local airport. Flying us down to Naples on Wednesday.
Yeah, you were saying that last night.
Yeah, and I'm going to head down and meet with a range in Immokalee, which is going to be nice. Mike Riedel, good afternoon from the Virginia foothills. Mike, you know I went to college at Radford, dude. Know those foothills well, brother. You know when we have Mr. Workman on. I have no plans today. We're going to wing it because it's the end of the year.
Dave on hold.
I knew it.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't answering.
I figured. Of course, in a past life, I'd be yelling at the microphone. In a galaxy far, far away.
A board operator far, far away.
Don't call me that. That's not what I am.
We've all contemplated doing a podcast called the Board Opcast.
Oh, yeah.
So that we could talk about behind-the-scenes stuff that we all deal with, doing what we do. But we were pretty sure that A, it'd land us in hot water probably, and B, we could not go very long without being figured out who we were.
Correct. And you would also... No. Say no. Your employer wouldn't like that.
No, they wouldn't.
Brian, awesome show last night. It was a great program. Hey, Vern, how are you? Frederick, life is good. Life is good, dude. It really is. Shane, what's up? Yeah, Mike, we'll do that. I was in Virginia Beach not too long ago, a couple years ago. Took my kids down there. David Clark, ATF bracelet is still up. Hasn't been removed. Yeah, that's true. I feel you on that one. Let me know when we got 30 out.
All right.
You have a sip of my coffee with my stuff in it. There we go. It is Defender and it is good.
I'm going to text you what I want to call that coffee because I can't say it downline.
No, you can't. Please don't.
$30.
This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Can't say that.
American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to. That's why I do it.
Presented by X Insurance. X Insurance. From the gunbroker.com studios on the Car Arms Platinum microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest
Can't say that on the air, can you?
fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Inside Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, gunbroker.com studios here on the Car Arms Platinum microphone. Every bit of this today being presented to you by X Insurance. X Insurance. X Insurance. Isn't that a great intro? Here's some fun trivia before we go to the guest. First of all, the off-air conversation prior to but you should be watching the live stream over at facebook.com/Armed American Radio. I get it if you don't want to play over there in Zuckerberg world. I completely get it. We're also up on YouTube. I get that too. Believe me. We've got some Rumbles going up. We have last night's show will be going up on Rumble later, just a little bit late getting the editing done. But the Monster Cast last night was an incredible program. Mr. Alan Gottlieb was on fire. Andrew Pollack, Parkland father, Meadows dad. Just always enjoyable talking to him, but so difficult as a father myself of a daughter his daughter's age. when she was murdered. I don't know how he goes on, but he does, and he does it for you. That's what drives him, an amazing individual. Make sure you listen to that hour. Hour 2, AWR Hawkins. We had some technical glitches, really strange, but nonetheless, between he and Paul Markle, it was a fantastic hour, always is. And then, of course, Paul Markle called back and jumped in the roundtable with us in Brad Primo's absence because of what happened in Nashville. So that was the 3 hours last night. Believe me, it's well worth the read. Go back and get it. All of that was brought to you by X Insurance. But a little bit of trivia, that was the last time we'd ever call it the Crossbreed Holster Studios. New intro coming up for you on next week's broadcast. Tease that just a little bit. Right now, let's go to one of my dear friends, an individual who's up on his game, always is, Dave Workman, out in the CCR KBA offices, out there in the Second Amendment Foundation. And by the way, off air, Dave, we were talking and laughing and joking about some of the things we can't say on air today. And because I can't say them on air, I guess I probably shouldn't have even said that because I can't say it on air. But I will at some point rag myself for my coffee order. I'll explain that later. Dave Workman, how you doing, brother?
Well, I'm okay, but I can say a lot of things that you can't.
Yes, you can. Greg, watch that switch, brother. That's the key word there. Switch. Dave, we're at the end of the year. I'm going to be honest with you. This show crept up on me just like that today. I had a lot of work to do in the morning, a lot to get done because I'm flying out with a client on Wednesday. And all of a sudden, it was time to go on air. And I thought, oh, man, I got to get a hold of you and make sure we're all good. And all of a sudden, here's the show. But here's the fun part about that. This is the end of the year. We can do a year in review. I don't need, and I'm telling you right now, if you're watching, I have no notes here. It's blank. I got your name written on it and year in review. That's it. So let's cover it, Dave.
Well, you must be psychic because I spent almost 3 hours this morning putting together notes for the year-end review wrap-up in thegunmag.com, which will appear a little bit later this week. I'm going to get in here early tomorrow morning and start working on it. I imagine it's going to run several thousand words, but we have had probably the year from hell. Just how else can you describe what we have lived through?
You're right.
This has been a remarkably bad year for the United States. It's been actually not a bad year for gun rights because we've seen the confirmation of Justice Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Now, the whole thing hinges on whether or not Joe Biden or Kamala Harris decide to pack the Supreme Court. And I think that will be the mother of all legislative battles on Capitol Hill. And they're going to lose, I think, because the public is going to stand for something like that. They may talk about it, but I don't think the public would allow that to happen. Mm-hmm. The year started out on a downer in Virginia. We had anti-gun Democrats take over the legislature in Richmond, and they fulfilled their campaign promises to start passing gun control laws, in spite of the fact that 22 to 25,000 gun owners, not just from Virginia but from neighboring states, descended on Richmond. Didn't seem to impress them much. I hope next November, when some of those clowns are up for election, they get impressed a lot more by being sent back to the jobless lines and replaced with people who can erase what Ralph Northam did. Oh, now, there's another thing. Terry McAuliffe is running again for governor, and he's as anti-gun as they come. So Virginia, wake up. The coffee is going to be spilled in your lap once again. Don't be lethargic like you were back in 2019, because it's not going to end well for you.
Well, first off, real quick about McAuliffe. I'm taking notes while you're talking because some of you're leading me in a direction for, in different directions for the rest of the hour. But McAuliffe, when I hear him, McAuliffe is probably one of three of the sleaziest people, not just politicians. This is a sleazy guy. And when you look at Terry McAuliffe, you see sleaze. He oozes and he reeks sleaze. Here he comes again in Virginia. Now, I'm hopeful that our brethren in Virginia, Dave, after what they went through when that legislature turned over, that those gun owners are going to come out to play and play serious, because you had 99.9% of that state turn itself into a Second Amendment sanctuary. And if enough gun owners come out to play, McAuliffe doesn't stand a chance. That state needs a Republican governor, and I'm hopeful Virginia does something about it this year. Boy, I'll tell you what, these are bad people.
That state needs a Republican legislature, too.
Yeah, it should be. It should never, ever, ever have gone that far left. It should never have done that. But we understand the demographics up in Northern Virginia. I get that.
Yeah.
But if enough of you gun owners who are listening to this program step up to the plate and bring somebody with you, you can take that state back. But, boy, I'll tell you.
Yes, you can. Yeah. They really can. Now, as far as McAuliffe, I've never met the guy. I don't know if he's sleazy or not. I don't like his politics. And frankly, I've got a lot of company in Virginia, evidently, that don't like politics either. But Virginia is an interesting state because you can't serve consecutive terms as governor. But what you can do is run again after one of your soulmates has run the state. And then run again. I mean, it turns into a cycle there. And, I'm going to make an observation here that a lot of people may agree with and some of you may not like. But when I went to school, we were taught, at least I learned at a very young age, I think I was in 5th or 6th grade when we started talking about what America was all about. The concept of serving in government was that you do it part-time and then you go back home and you resume your life and you operate your general store, or you go farm, or whatever it was that you were doing before you got elected to Congress. Nowadays, these people who are in Congress are making careers out of this. You look at Joe Biden.
Yeah, 47 years, almost 50 years, a half a century. Think
about that.
Almost
50 years on the public payroll, and that sucks. I'm just going to say it. That just plain sucks.
No, it does.
And I'll tell you, I spent 3 terms on the NRA board of directors. Now that's not a government position. It's an unpaid position. But at the end of my 3rd term, I just decided to hang it up. And there were people that would, other board members were encouraging me, hey, no, you got to run.
30.
I said, the hell I do. No, I don't.
Yeah.
And, they didn't quite understand that. And I know some people who've been on the NRA board like for, 20 years or so. And I would tell them, hey, look, it's time for some fresh blood. Get somebody in here with some different ideas. I've done what I came here to do, and I'm done with this. I'm going to go home and work on a newspaper and be a journalist again, and
that's what you're supposed to do.
Fun.
That's what's supposed to be done. Let me read you some numbers. Well, we're at the end. When we come back, I'm going to open with some numbers.
20.
And it'll make you sick to your stomach because the numbers are they belong to Nancy Pelosi, and it will open your eyes. Dave is right up the end. I happen to have those numbers in front of me just by fluke. When we come back, I'll explain what we mean. Dave Workman, right after this. Don't go away. Yeah, I saw your text in the middle of the segment. Thanks a lot for that.
And that's going to be the thought in your head every time you go and order that drink.
Ugh.
Let me pull up and get my Elf blank latte.
Elf blank latte. Boy, I'll tell you what, it's unbelievable. Some of these numbers from Pelosi are really disturbing. Mm-mm-mm. Let me know when we're at that 35 mark there, dude. 30's good.
$30.
This upcoming segment of Armed American Radio is being sponsored by Gunbroker.com, the world's largest online marketplace to buy and sell firearms, ammo, and related accessories. That's Gunbroker.com. Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show, indeed. Gunbroker.com is the place to go if you're looking for ammo, guns, all the cool stuff that you can't find at all your shops. And I know you can't find it because I'm one of you. I can't find it either. Although I didn't, and I'll say this here, Palmetto State Armory, from what I understand, earlier today did have some 9mm ball Winchester white box ammo out there. You might want to go check it out. All of this today is being presented to you by X Insurance. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. I'm talking with Dave Workman, real journalist from the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms offices, CCRKBA out in beautiful Bellevue, Washington. Of course, Second Amendment Foundation offices, and a guy who has the unique opportunity to be able to walk down the hall and talk to Mr. Gottlieb whenever he wants. That's a beautiful thing. Dave, welcome back. Let me give you some numbers on Pelosi that I think will disturb you. I know they will disturb you. But Nancy Pelosi was first elected to Congress in 1987, and we're talking about the length of service of these people who have made careers. Now, keep in mind, I've always said, lots of pairs of words don't belong in the same sentence. Career and politician are two words that do not belong in the same sentence. And one of my other famous ones is news personalities. Should never happen. I digress. She was elected to Congress in 1987. You know, she followed her dad, Thomas D'Alessandro, who served as a mayor of Baltimore. He was involved in Maryland politics for a number of years. She began her 17th term in 2019. She represents California's 12th district, and that comprises 4/5 of the city and the county of San Francisco. So she basically runs it, and she's considered the California Congressional Delegation Dean of California's Congressional Delegation. Very quickly, Nancy Pelosi, average salary has been about $193,400 a year as the Speaker of the House, $223 and change, $223,400, $223,500. That's your money. That's my money that we're paying her for all these years. Now, here's some interesting numbers, Dave. These come from about 5 years ago. But her annual salary at $193,400 5 years ago, at 28 years in office, she's raked in $5,415,200 of our $200 of our dime. And her net worth is now over $200 million. She is the epitome of what's wrong with Washington. And you mark my word, AOC goes in broke, out of work bartender, she's going to come out a multimillionaire. This is what people find so offensive about Washington, D.C., and this individual, listeners, is exactly why you and I hate the swamp. We're sick of it, and this is why they hate Donald Trump, because he was working on clearing this out. Dave, go ahead.
Well, yeah, as I've said many times before this, Trump had enemies on both sides of the aisle, and frankly, it's because Mr. Trump, and I've never met the guy, so you know, I don't know a thing about his personal life, and I don't care. He's a businessman. He wasn't an insider. He wasn't somebody who was quote unquote one of us, according to the Beltway insiders. Even the Beltway press hates the guy, and they didn't make any secret of it the way they've treated him for the last 4 years. He came in to do a job. He came in to fix government, and believe me, government resents that.
Oh,
they had a good thing going. They really had a good thing going until Trump shows up. And I think what happened as a result of Trump being elected and winning in the Electoral College, he didn't win the popular vote, and I think that's pretty well established, but he won the Electoral College by being smart enough to campaign in the places that Hillary Clinton took for granted. And that's another big thing that they don't like. He worked for that office. He worked for that, and he worked for free. He didn't take a dime of pay while he was president, and that's pretty well established too. So he had all these negatives going against him, and the positives, what did he have going for him? Well, he fixed the economy. He brought jobs back to the United States, got us out of a couple of really stinko trade deals. He became a fairly adept guy at brokering deals. He had, 3 Middle East peace accords now, and he got nominated 2 or 3 times for the Nobel Peace Prize. But naturally, they weren't going to give that to him because, oh my God, he's Donald Trump. And the way this guy was mistreated by the establishment back in D.C., it's appalling. And I know I've talked to a lot of people who say, they're ashamed of their own government. And certainly they don't like the press anymore because of the way Donald Trump was treated. As I said, I don't know this man, never met him. He may be just the world's biggest crank, but by golly, he got the job done.
And they hated that. But I want you to think about this. Listeners, listen to what we're saying. Listen to what you're hearing. They hated him for doing what he said he was going to do. And let's not forget, lowest unemployment in virtually every demographic in the history of this country. Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, white Americans. Okay? You were making more money. Yeah. It's all there. He did everything he said he was going to do. Wiped out NAFTA. Created a far better agreement. The press went after him because they're in the pockets of the Chinese. And who did Trump go after? China. Dave, we talked at great length last night on the Monster Cast. There are too many coincidences that have lined up in 2020, okay? I don't believe any of these are coincidences. Nothing happens like this. Everything we're seeing, when you look at the reaction of the press, the reaction of the politicians, the reactions on both sides, the reaction of Washington, D.C., the reaction of the global, who we know to be global established socialists. This is not coincidence. Coronavirus all of a sudden pops up. None of this is coincidence. History, eventually, I believe, will bear this out. They're going to try to turn history around. They're working on it now, and that's exactly why you know it's not coincidence. They're revising history. You're living through some crazy times, and we're probably going to have to fight to get this back, to right this ship. Oh, well, listen to what he's saying. We are going to fight, just like we fight here on Armed American Radio every single day for the right to keep and bear arms. I don't know what shape that's going to be. I don't know how that's going to manifest itself yet. But I do know that there are some, Dave, some very, let's say, what's the word that I'm looking for? I'm kind of tripped here. I got to be very careful the way I phrase this. Let's just say, I really do. It's going to have to be artful. So let's just say there are some very prominent people in positions of authority in America who are very, very concerned about how this is going to wind up because of the division in this country. Dave, I know you feel it in your gut. Go ahead and take us to the break.
Well, I think that it's again well established that there's a pretty even split in this country, and there's not a lot of middle ground right now. And I blame this polarization on the guy who preceded Donald Trump in the White House. I really do. And, I don't even want to mention the guy's name, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. Trump came into office, and he had a train wreck. Well, he put the train back on the tracks.
And they hated him.
End of story.
They hated him for it. They hated him for it. I'll say it. His name was Obama, which is what I called that socialist for 8 years. And I also called him a socialist for 8 years on the airwaves. Wow. I was right. We'll be back right after this with Dave Workman. Don't go away. Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
How fast did that show fly last night? I mean it seriously. Did in the terms of how fast these shows move, did that one seem faster than anyone in recent memory to you?
It seemed like 3 hours.
So it didn't. Seemed like a normal show to you?
No, it actually was pretty quick.
Yeah, it was. By the time I got that one and the one before, the week before, I got off the air and I was wide awake. And next thing I know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm still watching TV. I couldn't go to sleep.
Yeah. No, it went by pretty quick. All these shows seem to go by fast, though.
Yeah, this one's.
It's tough to say one goes faster than the other because before I know it, we're into the fourth segment.
I know, I hate that. Like last night, the third segment flew by and you reminded me, well, that's because you spent half the segment talking about your sponsors, which I didn't even realize.
Yeah. All right, we're getting close.
All right.
$30.
Back to Armed American Radio's Daily Defense with Mark Walters.
Welcome back inside Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, Gunbroker.com studios. The car, arms, microphone all lit up for you. All of it being presented to you by X Insurance. And I am drinking my Defender coffee here, by the way, today. It's exactly what I'm drinking. And I have, well, let's just say Greg laughed at me when I told him what I put in my coffee. But, so I had a little bit of whipped cream in my coffee. What can I tell you? He said the only thing that whipped cream should be in when a man's drinking anything should be hot chocolate. So, okay, I digress. I put a little whipped cream in my coffee, so there you go. It's Defender Coffee, defendercoffee.com. Use the promo code AAR. Dave Workman, real journalist extraordinaire, and a guy who's got the ear of Alan Gottlieb whenever he wants it. Dave, go ahead and get us out of the last segment, please. Go ahead and exclamation point anything you want, and then we're going to move on because a colleague of yours over at Conservative Firing Line just put something up I want to talk about with you.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I was done. Let's talk about that.
All right, good. Well, the piece over there, and I've got some stuff I want to talk about with yours too, obviously. But you may or may not have seen this alleged comedian David Cross advocating violence when he said, F unity, I want blood. And, of course, the response across the hateful Twitter sphere. What happened was Joe Biden tweeted out, after a year of pain and loss, it's time to unite, heal, and rebuild. To which hateful liberal David Cross, who honestly I've never heard of before, said, F that, I want blood. Now, the response came back that was pretty swift. Typical comments, come get some, princess. Or bourgeois tough talk and no action with a complete reliance on lower classes to actually perpetuate the violence you'll use to wax poetically about in a few months. Color me shocked. To another one that said, I did the math, and 75% of able-bodied 13-year-olds could blank you up. To, David, I used to be a bouncer in a pub in Santa Monica. You came in one night, you barely made it to the top of the stool at the bar. Sit down, okay? But here we go again, Dave, with very disturbing talk of violence against anyone who disagrees with the left. And I think Americans have had enough of this because, as you wrote about, we're going to kind of use this as a segue, talk about both. There's a huge rally getting ready to occur on January 6th in Washington, D.C., and a lot of people are concerned about it. Go for it.
Well, that's the rumor. And, I saw this stuff, and the president did a tweet. It was either yesterday or Saturday, where he encourages people to show up on January 6th, which is the day after, I guess, that they're supposed to certify the election or something. But he wants people to join in this planned MAGA rally that's supposed to happen in D.C. And there's another meme floating around. I saw this on Facebook early this morning, where there are supposed to be concurrent rallies at noon in all 50 state capitals, and presumably it would be noon East Coast, noon Central, noon Rocky Mountain, and noon Pacific Coast. So I wrote about that. That happens to be news. I'm not endorsing or saying stay away. I'm just saying, hey, this is what is going on out there. Do with it what you will. I mean, this is public information now. The president tweeted, wants people to turn out. And, I think it's important for us to keep something in perspective. The president seriously and sincerely believes that this election was stolen from him. A lot of people agree with that.
I'm one of them, by the way. I'm one of them.
Well, yeah, and I've seen enough questionable information out there that I think we need to take more than a cursory glance at this. And frankly, it has bothered me that Mitch McConnell is encouraging the GOP to vote against Trump when it's time to confirm all of his stuff from the Electoral College and accept the vote, and he already jumped in and congratulated Joe Biden. See, that's part of the problem too. And I've never met Mitch McConnell. He may be the nicest guy in the world, but Mitch is on one side of this argument, and the Biden crew, they seem to be on the other side of this argument. I have yet to see a conservative running around yelling, "Hey, let's tear down the establishment. We want blood." I know that they're trying to associate some of the stuff that happened at the last MAGA rally where there are allegations of broken windows and people doing stuff. And then I know in Olympia here out in Washington State, there was some guy with a gun who fired a shot and they arrested him. And, he had it coming. But by and large, the violence that we've seen over the last several months has really come from the left. They don't like to admit that. They try to change the subject real quick. But too bad. You didn't see Republicans running through downtown Minneapolis or downtown Seattle burning buildings and setting police cars on fire.
No, they were Biden voters, and they weren't rioting. They were protesting. You know the deal. And COVID obviously is smart enough to tell the difference between protests and churches. So I digress again.
Well, yeah. Well, you've been making a habit of that this afternoon.
Yeah.
But frankly, the listener, the average American, isn't buying any of that stuff. I don't care what my colleagues in the media say. I don't care what they say, because we all have watched this unfold on television. TV has become a devil and an angel all at the same time. The public, and I learned this when I was going to journalism school, the public has a right to know. And thanks for TV, at least they've had the opportunity to see what was going on there. And you can have broadcast journalists saying, "Oh, this was a mainly peaceful protest." You know what I call it? That's telling somebody it's raining while you're pissing down his back. Right. That's a mainly peaceful protest. Well, what does that mean? Well, we have a 40% chance of rain, but it's a mainly nice day. I'm sorry, that doesn't wash. And we're within, I'd say, a couple of miles of downtown Seattle as the crow flies, and we're waiting to see how these trials come out. They've arrested a lot of people who were involved in some of that stuff. And, that's the way the system is supposed to work. But again, it wasn't conservatives running around setting buildings on fire, trashing police cars. This was the far left. And believe they showed how ugly they can be. And for the next 4 years, if somebody doesn't tell them, hey, there's a line there, don't cross it, they're going to be as ugly as that again, because they still haven't got everything they want. No,
and I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned about the next 2 years. I'll be very, very honest and very upfront and frank with you. I'll be talking about that on Sunday's broadcast, listener. I'll be in the first half hour of the program as we open up the show. I'm going to be very upfront and frank with you, because let me tell you something up front. 2021 ain't going to get any better. You're going to look in the rearview mirror at this dumpster fire that was 2020. Don't think that it's just going to magically be kumbaya on January 2nd. It ain't. It's going to be brutal. Let me answer, if I can, your concerns, at least from my perspective, on Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, I believe, has already decided, look, I played with Donald Trump for 4 years. Now we're going back to the swamp. Okay? Donald Trump was an experiment. I played along with him. I did what I had to do, but the swamp's back. Now I'm a part of the swamp. I've been a part of the swamp for 35 years. 30. Okay? So Mitch McConnell is a part of that swamp creature. He's given himself plausible deniability, but he's now moving back to the swamp rat. That's what we're seeing with Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell knows, hey, I'm here. Trump's going to be out if everything plays out the way, and he's pushing it, obviously, because he ought to be standing up for Trump, and he ought to be telling everybody in the Senate to object in January, but he's not. Why? He doesn't think he stands a chance. That's what he's thinking, and bam, he's right back in the swamp mix. That's my really not so objective opinion on Mitch McConnell. If you think he's the future of the Republican Party, think again. Dave Workman, one more segment. As always, hours flying by. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense continues. I'm Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom. Don't go away. We'll be right back. That's right, in the gunbroker.com studios.
Car, the 25th anniversary K9 and the venerable P9 in various configurations. Magnum Research.
We're close.
Roger that.
30.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Defender Coffee. When you drink Defender Coffee, you're making a donation to a gun rights organization of your choice that protects and defends your freedoms. Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show indeed. Interesting stuff about Defender Coffee. I got an email from them earlier today showing my order and showing where my money was going to the Second Amendment Foundation. And that donation is getting ready to be made, I believe, next week by Defender Coffee. And they do it every year. At the end of the year, the SAF is going to get a nice, healthy, hefty donation from Defender Coffee and everybody who bought it and decided they wanted their portion of the profits to go to the Second Amendment Foundation like I do. There's others. You go to Gun Owners of America. And I think there's a couple others out there, but SAF is my pet. You know that, as I work very closely with Mr. Gottlieb on a daily basis. So, DefenderCoffee.com. Facepalm, no-brainer. Drink coffee, support the Second Amendment. All of this in the GunBroker.com studios on the Car Arms microphone is being brought to you by X Insurance, a far superior product. If you're grown up, have a house, have cars, have kids, have a life, you insure those things, and you insure them with the best of the best. Why would you do any less with your freedom? Get real insurance written in your name, not a company's name, and a membership plan that has you listed as an additional. Go get real insurance, just like you do for everything in your real life. Xinsurance.com. At least go and get a quote. Just call them and get a quote. It's free. You can start the process at xinsurance.com. We'll talk more about that throughout the week. Dave Workman, welcome back. One more segment in the fastest hour on radio, Dave. I don't have enough time to go where I want to go with you for the ride. I could keep you for at least a couple more hours. So how about we talk a little bit of conspiracy theory right now? Let's go to Nashville. We had some fun talking about that last night from a conspiracy standpoint. We put the tinfoil on last night and went, woo. How come, Dave?
How come what?
How come after Vegas, we still know nothing? Nothing. Yet within 24 hours, the FBI's got this guy pegged. They know he's a lone wolf. They've got all his communications, and he was never on their radar. They admit it. He was never on anybody's radar. Even after he supposedly bought the ingredients necessary to make that bomb go off, it didn't tip anybody's hat. Yet we know nothing about Vegas, yet we know everything about this guy. What in the world, man? What's going on here? Something doesn't smell right, brother.
Well, I can't explain any of that. I just can't. I'm not even going to try.
I wanted an answer from you, gosh darn it.
Well, too bad. I wear a Resistol. I don't wear tinfoil.
Resistols are nice hats, too, by the way.
You bet you. You bet they are.
I happen to have one.
Yeah, I got one, too. The late Texas Ranger Joaquin Jackson, who was a friend of mine, turned me on to Resistols, and they're really nice hats. They really are.
They really, truly are.
But,
I have a couple.
I tell you what. We've got the end of the year coming up. We're going to be glad to see 2020 in the rear view.
Boy.
Let's you and me just be pleasant for a few minutes, and we'll take it right into the end credits when we hear the music and the fat lady firing up. You mentioned a little while ago the ammo shortage.
Yeah.
You must be uncanny because I just got finished writing a piece for Guns Online. Guns Magazine has an online thing that I write for, and it talks about reloading your own ammunition.
Yeah.
Now, all you folks have to do, I think this is going to be published here in about a week, maybe a week and a half. Just read that, because that's your solution to ammunition shortages. Don't panic. Don't go down to the store and buy all the ammunition on the shelf, because all you do is contribute
that's fact.
to the shortage. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, what are we going to do in 2021? We're probably going to get driven a little bit crazy. I know that. Gun owners are an impatient lot. They want things to happen now. It doesn't always work that way. We're still going to be with the COVID. We're not going to be able to troop around and meet with our lawmakers like we've gotten used to, those of us who do that sort of thing. But you got to be active. You got to be involved. And there is, I hope, a light over that horizon. We'll get out of 2020. And one thing about Americans, we're resilient. And we're going to bounce back from this. And I'm not talking the COVID. I'm talking something even more creative than Capitol Hill. We're going to recover from this.
Mm-hmm.
All we have to do is use our wits and behave like we've always behaved. And they're not going to get us. That's a
powerful. We do, and that's a powerful message. Because as I've often said, and you know this, but I believe deep in my heart, in my soul, it's a part of who I am. I believe that freedom will always prevail. That's part of the human DNA. Freedom will always prevail from people who have tasted freedom. And here in America, we understand what freedom is all about. And I've often said that freedom, sometimes that fight, that battle is an uphill battle. We have to wage it from time to time. And that's what's going to happen next year. I mean, it's going to be a challenging year for gun owners. There's no question about it. If, in fact, Donald Trump doesn't make it back in office, which, by the way, I'm still not going to, fat lady hasn't sung yet. So I'm going to leave that out there. I'm just going to throw that out there. The fat lady hadn't sung her tune yet. But I will say this, that Americans will bounce back. Now, Dave, on that note, let me read you something. And I'm not trying to be a downer here, but I saw a tweet last night about my conversation with Mr. Gottlieb in response to our conversation. And it said, hashtag, or pound in my estimation, stop the steal. Very, very disappointing to hear Alan Gottlieb tell AA Radio on 1227 that Donald Trump knows he's defeated and plans to give up the fight soon. And then AAR Mark immediately suggests year-end donations to 2AF, Second Amendment Foundation, to defend hashtag pound 2A. Quitters aren't winners. And I don't respond to anything like that. But it bothered me to see that for one reason, because Alan Gottlieb is anything but a quitter. Alan Gottlieb is pushing forward with fights, preemptive strikes as we go through what you just said is going to be a little tough. No doubt. There's going to be some attacks against us. So respond to that, would you?
Well, okay, I'll respond. I can't speak for Alan, although as communications director, I often do. But,
yes, you do a pretty good job of it.
Well, that's very kind of you. But, frankly, the odds are way, way against President Trump being able to pull off a miracle here. And that's what it would take, would be a miracle. And that's why I say, hey, we're going to get through this. In 4 years, or actually in 2 years,
30.
The country has an opportunity to slam the door on Joe Biden.
Bingo.
And make him a lame duck president 2 years into his term of office, and then make damn sure that he is a one-term president. 2 years from now, and I wrote something about this on Facebook yesterday, responding to one of these guys, hey, let's go out and maybe it's time for a revolution. Hey, knock that crap off. If you're going to have a revolution, I want to get with it. Otherwise, shut up, run for office, find somebody to run for office, get in the game,
Dave
take
Workman.
the country back.
There you go. And you know what, Dave? It starts right here in Georgia. We win the 2 seats here in Georgia, keep the Senate, 2 years, take the House. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they're done. They're finito. They're finished. And again, it starts right here. Early voting's going crazy. I had to go to the tag office today, and the lines were wrapping around the building. So, and that's in a very bright red area, by the way. So that's extremely encouraging. Dave Workman, thank you for everything that you do. Not enough time to tell everybody your entire resume, but we'll leave you with this. Follow him, Dave Workman. Just look him up. Enjoy the rest of your day. We're going to get up and do it again tomorrow. We'll see you on the radio.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance. X Insurance on the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, that's a wrap.
That is a wrap. Good deal. I'm going to knock out the podcast real quick, and then I've got some more work to do regarding the construction of the new AAR studios.
All right.
Going to be breaking ground on that right after the first of the year.
Sweet.
All right, man. Thanks, dude. I will see you tomorrow. Anything you need from me?
I'm good. See you tomorrow.
Wrap. Later.
Later.
All right, so we just got rid of Greg there. Gotta love Greg. He's awesome. You jump in here to some of the comments here, guys, real fast before we take off here. A couple things regarding 2 years. John says, I totally disagree. The American people are not going to wait for 2 years. John, I don't disagree with you there. But that's when the election is. I mean, that's just the reality. That's when the election is, okay? So we have to play within those boundaries. We've got an election here in the state of Georgia that can basically neuter any Joe Biden presidency right now today. Right now today, at the start of it. And in 2 years, when they vote, when the House is back up again, which is what's going to happen in 2 years, that's what we're talking about. We can literally cut it off. So that's what we're talking about. As far as waiting 2 years, you're right. I don't know how that's going to manifest itself, but stay tuned, brother. Stay tuned. Paul says, without voter reform, we won't win any more elections. Well, that's their game plan. And that's exactly what we have to put a stop to, and that's what Donald Trump is going to continue to fight for. Rick, my brother up in Ringgold, Georgia, truly believe Biden won't serve a year before he's replaced by Harris. There are a lot of people who believe that too. And if you watch Joe Biden, I mean, this guy shuffles to the podium. He's got all the signs that he isn't going to make it. Just the other day, he couldn't even say frustrate. He said frustate, whatever. The guy doesn't even know what he's doing. He can't string words together. It's a joke. There ain't no way he got 80 million votes more. He did not get more votes than Barack Obama. Get your head out of your tootie. Scott Templeton, as Mark, I was in Georgia last week. Republicans lagging seriously in those races, demi-emotional appeals, commercials. That's true, and I understand why you feel that way, Scott, but understand the left feels that way when they see our commercials as well. And as if you heard Alan Gottlieb on the program last night, he's privy to some polling information that the rest of us are not due to his contacts that he has in the White House and with other politicians. And he felt a whole lot better about it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I feel pretty good about both seats right now. I feel pretty solid about David Perdue. No question about it. It's going to be a tight race. No doubt about it. Stacey Abrams is a thief. She's down here doing everything she can to destroy Georgia. Too many Georgians, I don't think, want that to happen. This is a red state. It's a red state. Now, it'll be interesting if you have two Republican senators and you can tell me the state went for Biden. See, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. And it doesn't add up with the way the state legislature is made up either. So I'm staying positive about Georgia. I'll be voting here with both my daughter and my wife and my parents here in the next few days. We do that on the 5th. We actually go on Election Day, right? Isn't that interesting? Vern, listen, I'm not going to get into that part of the theory right now, but here's the deal. We're set to vote every 4 years, every 2 years. That's the way it works. So you better hope it stays that way, believe me. Warnock, by the way, here's how desperate they're getting. They've now got Kelly Loeffler. Now the white supremacist stuff is coming out. The hate stuff about Warnock, is coming out. It's bad. It's really bad. Believe me, nobody in America wants this shit ended any faster than those of us that live here. We're sick of it. Harris is basically hated by both parties. You ought to hear my daughter do the impersonation of Kamala Harris. We won, Joe. We won. You're going to be the president. She sounds just like her. It sounds so accurate. We have to tell her to stop. Yeah, guys, be prepared. Be prepared. That's all I can tell you. Prepare yourselves for what's coming. It's going to be 2021 is not going to, you're not going to be, oh, yeah, we're coming into 2020. We could rid ourselves. No. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But it will get better. It will get better. All right, guys, I got to get the podcast up for you. God bless you. Got a lot of work to do. Here's the deal. Coming up on Wednesday, Andy Hoosier will be here. I will be in the air. Thursday and Friday will be, as we did with Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we're going to run best of for 2 days. I don't want to ask anybody to sit in the chair and work those days. They're going to do the same. We're going to be no different than any other radio program. So after Wednesday, we will be live again on January 3rd, which will be, of course, the first show of 2021. And I'm going to lay some stuff out for you about what's happening. You're going to hear a new intro to both shows. Pretty excited about that. And we're looking forward to a really good year. We've got a nice fleet of partners with us, and we intend on doing some really cool stuff that's going to involve you around the country. So stay tuned. All right, guys, thanks. We're going to get the ball rolling here on the podcast and some work done, and I will talk to you tomorrow.